Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. So it's me talking about what I've been up to for the last week when this was recorded. And there's going to be games, movies, and TV. Whilst I've got your attention, before we get started, it'd be a big help to me and CookieCast if you could subscribe and become one of the CookieCast crew. That would be awesome, and we will love you forever if you do that. If you're already a subscriber, well, you're off the hook. No, you're not. You should definitely ask friends and family to do the same. Right, let's get going. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Hello. Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there? Am I here? Who knows? How you doing? How's your week going? How's life? You well? Good. So, did a podcast last week. Afterwards, I was like, not sure it was the most uplifting of podcasts. But I felt instantly better. I'd seen a thing a while ago that said, why is it that instead of getting therapy, men start a podcast? And I can answer that question. I can answer that quite easily. Therapy costs £60 an hour and podcasting's free. So, no brainer. But I've said for a long time, podcasting is a form of therapy, especially this podcast. I don't especially talk much sport or any of the, multitude of podcasts that we do. I often find myself talking about, me and how I'm getting on and how, what I've been up to and those sorts of things. And I don't know if it's more often than not, it's sometimes. I can end up feeling a little down. But then I ended up feeling kind of bad. Because I did last week's podcast, and then like I said, I don't know if it was a overly uplifting podcast. But I felt better. I felt almost instantly better. I was in a super funk, and I did the podcast, and I got everything out, and I said what I wanted to say, and then walked away from it like, I feel better now. So for me, it was a good process. For you guys, maybe not so much. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was worth reflecting on. I've been finding recently that I want a day off. And it's weird because I know what a day off looks like. I want a day off from work. I want a day off from responsibilities. I want a day off from having to do anything. Just a day of sitting on the sofa, lying on the sofa, playing games, watching movies. Just some downtime. And this is coming from a man who's got 2 days off this week. But I can tell you this, I will not be sitting / lying on the sofa for those 2 days. But it's weird because I have this thing where I'm like, I could really do with a day off, really fancy a day off. Oh man, if only I could get a day off. While simultaneously knowing that if I had a day off, I'd feel... I want to say I'd feel too guilty, but I don't think it's quite that. I'd feel like I would still need to get stuff done. Because, and this is the thing, I did have almost a day off a few weeks ago. It was a Saturday. It was just me and the dog. And that's what happened. Rather than sitting on the sofa for X number of hours over the course of the day, I did jobs to, I don't know what you'd call it, keep busy, keep sane, feel useful. So, saying I want a day off, I know what that actually means, what that actually looks like. So what is it that I want? Maybe it's the responsibility. Maybe I want a break from responsibility. Maybe it's that. Who knows? But I've been craving time off. And I'm starting to wonder if what I'm craving time off from is time off from the world. The world is a crazy place at the moment. I say at the moment like it hasn't been for years now. Here's something. And I'm not sure if I've mentioned this. I don't think I have. But I've recently developed a bit of an obsession with cooking meat. I am a 30 plus year veteran of the vegetarian fraternity. And, you know, everybody that's like, you're a vegetarian, you must be repulsed by meat. Nope. You must despise the idea of meat. Nope. You must, you know, meat to you is like garlic to a vampire. No. I handle meat on a daily basis. No, I'm not being rude. I feed the dog. I sometimes have to deal with the cat food. And as a walk treat, the dog has chicken. I have no issues dealing with any of these things. I cook meat when required. Did a barbecue a while ago for a load of meat eaters. You know, it's that kind of thing. It doesn't bother me. Never has done. So recently, I have cooked some meat, and off the back of it, I've developed this. Like it's like a weird obsession. It's like this weird drive to want to expand my ability to cook meat, which I don't even know if I have. I know when I've cooked meat in the past, people have eaten it and said that it's good, so I have to work with that. I want to expand on the meat that I cook semi-regularly to other things. And I don't know why, because for me it has no benefit. I'm not going to eat it. And it's not like I'm like, oh, I really want to prepare this meat because, you know, maybe I'll try it, or maybe I want to eat meat. It's not that. But it is a bit of an obsession. my latest thing is I really want to cook a brisket, and I've been looking into it a lot, and like looking into like the meat that is a brisket, and it's not overly common. It's often considered a cheaper meat, but from everything I've seen and everything I've read and heard, when done right, brisket is supposed to be amazing. So there's that, and the other thing that I'm, considering looking into is ribs. And part of me wonders if it's because the ability to cook these meats, these things, sets you aside from sticking bacon in a pan, because they have a higher difficulty to get right, and maybe it's that. And I've been having this conversation recently because there is something else that I'm obsessed with wanting to cook, and I want to do homemade pasta. And I will tell anybody that will listen, though, I once made a lasagna from scratch, and I made the pasta, and it was this, huge learning experience for myself. And I've wanted to do it again, but more recently I wanted to make like actual pasta. I'm thinking of making is it like tagliatelle, like the thick stringy one, rather than spaghetti. And I don't know why. I am not likely to sit down and eat a bowl of pasta. I sometimes have pasta when I need like a bit of carbs to go with a salad. I sometimes have like a pasta salad, which is salad with pasta in it. I only make that definition because I am aware that there is another version of pasta salad, which is pasta and a little bit of salad. Anyway, but yeah, I've got this weird obsession with I want to make pasta, and I've started wondering if it's to do with craving creativity. I am not a creative person. I don't have any talents. I don't have any abilities. I can't do things. In my life, there have been a handful of things that I have been considered to have been okay at, kind of not awful at, and that's about it. And of that handful of things, at this point in time in my life, some of them are not viable. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the lack of and the craving for creativity. I've always wanted the ability to be able to draw or craft something, but I don't have it. It's just not there. It's just not in my wheelhouse. And I know everybody says, well, if you worked at something hard enough and long enough, you would be able to do it. You'd get good. But let's face it, there's got to be some base talent in there somewhere. And I just don't have it. I am not a talented man. So maybe there's that. Maybe it's, maybe I believe that I could do that. I could cook a brisket. Maybe do a brisket with pasta. The biggest issue I've got is, what would I do with it once it's done? A brisket's massive. give a bit to lay on, and then be like, that's kind of it. So I probably need to look into what you can do with brisket once it's done. I was having a conversation yesterday about maybe doing like do like half and half, do half sliced and the other half like pulled, and whether there's an option to do something with it like that. Now, and the other thing is, I say I'm obsessed with these things, but I haven't actually done anything about either of these things. I imagine if I went and looked, I've probably got the ingredients in the house now to make pasta. I haven't done it, so I don't know what is going on, but I know something's going on. Here's something that's been driving me up the absolute wall. I think I've talked about this before. We've been having a lot of storms. Like a lot. I think we've had 3, 4 in 8 days or something. It was snowing heavily the other day. And I think I've talked previously about the wind. It's a bit windy is one thing, but gale force winds is something else. And when I have to listen to it, it feels like water torture. Because in my house, the back door rattles when it's windy, and the extractor fan flap thing rattles when it's windy. So no matter where you are, all you can hear is something rattling being affected by the wind. Also, the weather is so interchangeable. Like today, I think it was sunny all day, but windy, and then there was torrential rain towards the end of the day. So that's the sort of thing we're dealing with at the moment. Something that doesn't seem to be being discussed or covered is, I feel like there's an increased number of storms these days. I'm pretty sure once we started naming them, I've seen in America they name, hurricane this and typhoon that and whatever, but we just had like a windy day. But a few years ago, we started naming storms. Storm Dennis, Storm Eunice, Storm, Jeff. And it feels like that was a turning point, because it feels like, at the moment especially, not only week in, week out is there a storm, week in, week out there's multiple storms. My back garden right now is literally just like a bog. And the field over the road is like a marsh. And it's like, how is this going to recover if we've got a storm every day or every other day? It's bonkers. And it's doing my tree in. But, I can't hear the wind right now. So, every cloud, of which there are many. I'm reading a book. I know, for some of you that might be a shock, because I'm sure it's a shock that I can read. And believe me, it is a shock to me too that I read books. Go back and look at previous podcasts where I talk about me and reading. But I've been reading a book recently. Not something I would normally do, but I saw an advert for a book, which is unusual. And the thing that piqued my interest was the one that I was looking at. It was like, book 1, great start, of 9, yes, getting a series. So I do what I do with every book these days. I downloaded a sample of the book. And I read the sample and I went, meh, this could work. And, you know, in the back of my head I was like, and there's 9 of them. Book 1, £1. Yes, please. So I got the book and downloaded it. And the book is split, or had been previously split 50-50. 50% of the book was set in the past. 50% of the book was set in the present. And what I found was, as I was reading about reading the book, the stuff in the past really interested me. I was like, wow, this stuff's really good. And the stuff in the present, I was like, this stuff is fine. And it's been working through history from like the 1400s all the way up to present, which 50% of the book was set in the present. And obviously once it worked its way up to the present, then the rest of the book has been in the present. Luckily for me, the stuff that was set in the present did get a lot better. So when it stopped talking about the past, I was like, cool. So then I had a conversation with my eldest. She was like, I've got a book in my bag. It's about the First World War. And I was just like, really? So we got into talking about the First World War, which led into talking about the Second World War. Both are subjects I know very little about in a certain degree, but something that I would like to know more about. And anytime I get the opportunity to learn anything about them, I take that opportunity. You know, I do know some things, but not anywhere near, you know. So we got this conversation going about the First World War. Admittedly, we did end up talking a bit more about the Second World War. And then I was like, hey, I'm reading a book. And in the book, the bit I'm up to at the moment is set in the Second World War. And we got talking about that. And it was a nice opportunity to have a conversation like that, you know, talking about history, talking about books, talking about the way things are recorded, or the way that a fiction book can take something that actually happened and manipulate the fiction to fit with something that happened, which led on to talking about the Great Fire of London, which my eldest knows about and has done stuff about. So we got talking about that. And just a very fascinating conversation, very fascinating discussion, very fascinating time, talking about books and history, and thoroughly enjoyed it. But coming back to what I was saying, it was very strange reading a book that was 50% going, yeah, this is great, this is fantastic, oh yeah, that's fascinating, oh, that's very interesting, and the other 50% being like, I don't care as much, how about you take me back in time instead? So yes, a very strange time of reading a book. I've already looked into the next book, and I don't want to say, you know, in the drug dealing sense of things, being you get the first one for free, but the second of 9 books is 4 times as expensive as the first. So that's fun. Something I've been talking quite a lot about recently, something that's concerning me more and more, is that recently there's been a lot of talk about the cost of living increase. There's been this big thing about energy bills going up, mobile phone bills going up, petrol prices going up, all of these bills going up. And the knowledge that when it comes to bonus and pay rise time, the I suppose it's the pay rise aspect of it, will not match those increases. And the concern that I've started to develop is that for a little while now, for a little bit, I've been kind of aware that there's not enough money. You pay for this, you pay for that, you pay for the other. Then you're like, where's all the money gone? It's that kind of thing. There's X number of outgoings and only X amount incoming. So when this is going up and this is going up in price, and this is going up in price, these things, when they were talking about like the energy bill stuff, is like your bills will double. Right? I can't afford for that bill to double. It's like the price of this is going up. It's like I can't afford for that to go up because I already spend too much on it anyway. And then there are the companies that are trying to capitalise on things by saying, well, all the other companies are putting their prices up, but we think that's ridiculous. So we're not putting our prices up, so why don't you come to us and deal with us? It's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And just this fear, this creeping fear that's creeping in recently, where I'm just like, is it going to reach a point where you're going to have to decide what appliances you can turn on? Are you going to have to start like a rota for, showering? Or we're going to be cold on Tuesday because we're going to turn the heating off because we can't afford to have it on. And, we need to go to this place, but we can't drive there. So we're going to have to find a different way of getting there. Is that the future that we're heading towards? Because it feels like it is. I've already had these conversations. I've already made a list of things that I'm going to have to cut out. Yet again, drink less coffee. There'll be no non-alcoholic beer talked about on the beer podcast because I won't be able to afford to buy it, and so on and so forth. Is this what we're working towards? Because that sounds a bit miserable, does it not? But hey, whatever. It is what it is. And apparently everybody's fine with it. I woke up this morning with a headache. And as the morning wore on, as the day wore on, I managed to get to lunchtime, which for me is 2:00 in the afternoon. And I'd eaten something, and it was round about that time that the headache started to subside. But it was an interesting, I was going to say experiment, but it's not. It was an interesting experience to open your eyes to a headache. It's amazing how it shapes every aspect of your day. Like, instantly, everything's 10 times harder. Instantly, you're 10 times more irritable. you need things like, I need to drink some water. I need to do that now. It was excruciatingly painful. There was a point where I was like, I need to not be working right now, and I probably need to go and have a lie down. In most situations like this, I would say, probably a migraine. But that amazing element of it started before I'd opened my eyes really set me up for the day. So, yeah, that was fun. Let's talk some entertainment stuff. Couple of TV shows. I've watched another episode and a half maybe of Raising Dion. I don't know if I feel that this series is as punchy as the first series. It's starting to feel like it's got that second season lag. Like, oh, we had a first series, it was successful. Now what? Kind of feeling to it. Also, I think I mentioned this last week. One of the characters does my treeing, and they are a main character. And the more I watch it, the more that character does my head in. So, there's that aspect. It makes it quite hard to watch when every other scene has a particular character in, and that character's a character you don't like. So, yeah, I'll stick with it. It's enjoyable enough to watch, but it is feeling distinctly lacking. And it had, I don't know if it was the first episode or the second episode, it had like this big, like, section or scene with like quite a lot of powers being used. And at the time I was like, steady on, it feels very much like you're burning through your budget here. And it's felt like that since. There was not to spoil it for anybody, but there was a monster in it. And the monster was all kinds of awful. It didn't look great. The way it was like moving and stuff, it had like different movements. Like 1 minute it was like really slow and shambling, and the next minute it's like running away like an animal. It's like, pick a lane. But like I say, I will stick with it. I've also been watching the final series of F is for Family. I have a mixed history with this series. I think it's like series 5 or something. So it's not, it's not like it's animated. It's not like your Simpsons and your South Park and stuff like that. It's only had 5 series. There was a point in time where it was what I would watch whilst wrapping certain Christmas presents. Anybody that knows me knows that I like to watch stand-up comedy when I wrap presents, but in certain situations I used to watch F is for Family because it was released around Christmas. When I heard that this was going to be the final series, and it has been out a while, I think it came out in November. When I heard that this was going to be the final series, I did that, and then I was like, yeah, like, I was kind of sad because it's Bill Burr's cartoon, and you have that thing that when you follow somebody, you want them to have success, but on the other hand, it wasn't amazing. It was fine. It was okay. It was very watchable. It was certainly better when it started. This series especially has been a bit like, it's been a little bit of a slog. It does feel right that it's ending. I know that's probably not a great sign. I haven't finished it, but I've nearly finished it, I think. I might only have maybe a couple of episodes left. I watched a movie, and if you've been listening along for the last 4 weeks, you'll probably guess what it is. That movie is Amazing Spider-Man 2. Last week I talked through the issues that the Amazing Spider-Man had. This week I'm going to talk about the issues that Amazing Spider-Man 2 had. And I think those issues are solely down to the writing this time around. A film that has so many glaring plot holes, you spend the majority of the film just going, why? Like something happens, you're like, why? And somebody says something, it's like, why? And you just end up in this, but why would you do that? Or why would that happen? Or why would you say that? Or, oh, that just so happened to go that way. Obviously, I'm very much aware that this film got a lot of criticism. And you can see where that is and why that is. I know that people are talking a lot about how these films have been redeemed with the latest Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. I haven't seen that yet, so I can't comment on that. People are saying there should be a third Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know on that one. I couldn't tell you. I want to say it's fine, but I'm not sure it is. Like I say, it does. Apparently, everything's okay now. It's okay to like these films, so we have to go with that. We have to go with what everybody says. Yeah, I will be moving on to the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. I have this weird thing with the Tom Holland ones. I know that they're good, but part of me wonders if that's because I've been told that. This is going to sound strange, but I often find myself a little bored watching them. Like between the two that I've seen, I have a variety of different issues, but I don't know if that's just me rather than the films themselves. But like I say, I'm going to watch them, and then the hope, the intention is that I will finish off this series of films with Spider-Man. What the hell's it called? No Way Home, is it? Oh God, I can't remember. And whether, I did look to see if it was still at the cinema, and it is, but I think it gets like one show in a day, so that would probably be quite difficult to do. So it's potentially going to be one of those that I'll watch these two Spider-Man films and then maybe have a break. Although that feels a little bit like it's going against what I've been trying to do. So I will see what's possible. I will see what's doable. As far as computer games are concerned, it's Ghost of Tsushima still. I was struggling with it. I think because I've been through this many times before, but because I've spent so much time with this game, put so much into this game, playing it again has been a little bit more difficult than I maybe expected it to be. I've spoken at length about the goddamn fox dens. There is no. I'm trying not to do any spoilers here, but I have moved into the third section of the game, which I feel is probably moving towards the end of the game. I still haven't broached the DLC. Once you reach the third section of the game, it does lock out to the first two for a little while, and the DLC is in section 2. I don't know when I'm going to try and tackle it. Part of me does feel like I've been sort of like romping towards the end, and part of me does feel like I'll maybe do the DLC once I've finished the main game, but we'll see. Once reaching the third section of the game, the difficulty does go up quite a bit in some ways. There is this aspect of when you do the standoffs, more often than not, you fail them. It's quite difficult to preempt the attacks, and as a game, it does force you further down the route of you have to use everything at your disposal. But on the flip side, what is the point of having these things if you don't use them? So yes, I've already lined up probably my next 2 or 3 games to play, which is good because I certainly won't be buying anything new for a long time, because new games have officially crossed the threshold of I can't afford them. Again, falling into this cost of living thing. I'm not going to give you £70 for a computer game. I'm not going to give you £60, and you'd be damn lucky to see me give you £50. So I am probably 30 quid away from buying new games. So if you've heard me talking about games I've played before a lot, I'm sorry, but strap yourselves in, kids, because we're going to have to do it all over again. One of the games that I have lined up to play is a game that I played years ago and didn't finish. So it's one of those, I played it that long ago that I don't even think I would have been talking about it on a podcast. So there's maybe that to look forward to. We shall see. That, as they say in the business, is that. That is the podcast done and dusted. Thank you very much for listening along, and I'll catch you next time. So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another week gone. Another week of fun and frolics. Thank you for listening along. And if I could just borrow you for 1 second, if you could subscribe wherever you're getting your podcasts, that would be amazing. You can also check out our website, thecookiecast.com. Over there we've got various different ways to get in touch, and I encourage you to get in touch. Contact us and tell us when you're coming on the podcast, and we'll sort it out. Anyway, that's enough for this one. Next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.